Hello everyone, hello classmates. We are Group 2 and today we will be discussing all about mythological approach. But first, let me introduce to you the reporters for today. We have Trixie, Anna, Kimberly, Joshua, Marinelle, and Clarice. We also have four goals in today's discussion. The first one is to give the background, historical etymology, and proponent of mythological approach. Second one is to define what is it about. Third is to elaborate on how to use it. And the last one is to provide a sample analysis.
The mythological approach emphasizes the recurrent universal patterns underlying most literary works, combining the insights from anthropology, psychology, history, and comparative religion. Mythological criticism explores the artist's common humanity by tracing how the individual imagination uses myths and symbols to compare different cultures and epochs.
So now let's talk about archetype. So it is an original model or type after which other similar things are patterned. So there are motif and images tend to elicit comparable psychological responses and serve the similar cultural functions. So these are the examples of archetypes. So we have here the images and the symbols. So in images, it has water, sun, and colors. On the other hand, in the symbols, we have here the circle, serpent, numbers, garden, the demon lover, the tree, desert, and mountain. According to Carl Jung, a symbol, character, situation, or image that evokes a deep universal response. So it is a set of primary memories common to the human race that will exist below each person's conscious mind. Next is the individuation. So in individuation, these are the three examples, which are the shadow, persona, and anima. So individuation is a psychological growing up, the process of discovering those aspects of oneself that make one individual different from others, member of the species. The shadow is a darker aspect of our unconscious self, the inferior and less pleasing aspect of our personality which we wish to suppress. The second one is the anima. So anima is what we call the soul image. So it is the contrasexual part of man's psyche. So the image of the opposite sex that he carries in both his personality and collective unconscious. Lastly is the persona. So, if the anima is a kind of mediator between the ego and the unconscious mind, on the other hand, the persona is the mediator between our ego and the external world. So, it is like an actor's mask that we show to the world. Next, we will talk about the archetypes proponents. So, Carl Jung, as you can see in the picture, that was him. He addresses the relevance of archetype. So, his theory and literature and the arts are most clearly in the spirit of man, art, and literature. And that was on 1966, which it contains two significant essays on literature and poetry. So in Carl Jung's archetypal theory, it emphasizes the unconscious mind where it plays a role that which means that it has a purpose. So it assists individuals in maintaining a balanced psychological state. Next proponent is Northrop Frye. So he is a Canadian literary critic and he was the best known as the proponent of archetypal criticism. In this branch of literary criticism, the literature and the other art are seen as a manifestation of universal myths and archetypes. So the most important work of Fry is what we call The Anatomy of Criticism, and that was on 1957. He introduces the archetypal criticism, which it identify and discuss the basic archetypal patterns as found in myths, literary genres, and the reader's imagination.
Okay, moving on to what is it about? Myth criticism is an interpretative approach to literature which may be used in conjunction with other approaches and reading techniques. So it's like a literary criticism, but in a certain approach, which is this mythological. Generally uncovers or identifies manifestations of mythology in a literary work, whether as a creation of an original myth, as the appropriation of traditional mythological figure, story, or plays, or in the form of allusions, and uses these mythological elements to aid interpretation of the work. According to Joseph Campbell, myth critic is concerned to seek out those mysterious elements that inform certain literary works. So it's like this mythological approach is actually interpreting those symbols and elements that are present in a literary work. For example, if there is a yin and yang present in a story or a movie, then that means that it has balance and harmony. Next is according to William Blake, myth is fundamental. That it is a dramatic presentation of our deepest instinctual life of our primary awareness of man in the universe, capable of many configurations upon which all particular opinions and attitudes depend. Alan Watts stated that myth is to be defined as complex of stories. Human beings regard as a demonstration of the inner meaning of the universe and human life. And lastly is according to Philip Wilrett, myths are nature collective and communal. So it binds a tribe to or nation together in common psychological and spiritual activities. It is the expression of a profound sense of togetherness, of feeling of action and wholeness of living. Myth transcends time, uniting the past with the present and reaching towards the future. Next, we have Trixie to elaborate us on how to use mythological approach.
Now that you already learned what a mythological approach is, let me discuss on how you can use it in making a literary criticism. In making a literary criticism using a mythological approach, you need to look for archetypes, myth symbols or images, characters or situations. So the main 3 points: characters, images or symbol, and situation. Now let me give you an example. This is Jake Sully from the Avatar. He is a paraplegic marine renegade veteran who had a second chance to move normally and even have superpowers inside an avatar body. If we're going to compare that in the stories in our myths, the characteristics reflects of a hero. So you can use that to make an analysis about the character. For example, regarding the characteristics. So what are the common characteristics of a hero? Courageous, perseverant, honorable, and etc. Next is the images. Location or image is what it is in the world of the story, but it contains an additional function or meaning connected to eternal themes of human existence, universal, primal symbols and images that derive from the collective unconscious. My example here, or our example here, is woods. If we compare that in stories and myths, woods can be a wild place with danger and bees. The woods is dark and scary. Understanding the association of an image can be helpful in reinforcing tone, foreshadowing, and theme. Lastly, the situation. These plotlines includes specific movements and plot twists leading up to inevitable ending. Our example here is good versus evil. So what is the inevitable ending? Good ultimately triumphs. Understanding what situation is present in what you're reading helps you determine the story's theme and type of conflict. For example, in good versus evil, you would be able to give an analysis that the type of conflict present is man versus man. Those are just one example out of many. Now let's go ahead and go over a sample analysis.
So now that you guys know what is mythological approach and how to use it in literary criticism, let us see another example of it. So this novel is entitled as the Harry Potter, the Sorcerer's Stone by J.K. Rowling. So when reading Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, it is typical to look past some of the deeper messages the text is painting. So as a reader, the sorting that has symbolic meaning and must be explored more deeply. Each literary theory will be examined through different lenses, resulting in different interpretations. Harry Potter can be analyzed by focusing on different archetypes such as symbols, images, and character types. Archetypal criticism builds upon Carl Jung's idea of the collective unconscious. The collective unconscious contains archetypes or pre-existing imageries inherited from earlier descendants. Literary archetypes are simply copies recreated from the original subconscious experiences. They can include repeated symbols or themes in literature that characterize common patterns of human nature. So as you can see in the picture, there are different types of character. There is the hero, the lover, the sage, the innocent, and so on. So in examining Harry Potter, there are the character archetypes present throughout the text that the author has used to engage her readers to relate and accept to. So the first main character is the hero, who leaves their habituated setting to enter a new one. The hero will be relatable at first and not too skilled or talented, and that is Harry Potter. Harry will be the hero in J.K. Rowling's The Sorcerer's Stone.
Mythological archetypal critics believe that there are a handful of symbols that evoke the same feeling in all people, and the power of literature comes from the symbol. So in Harry Potter, they uses different symbols such as the house emblem. Slytherin snake symbolizes evil, and the Gryffindor lion symbolizes courage and loyalty. And also the snake symbolizes Voldemort, a evil wizard. Voldemort is the villain in the story. There are many lessons in the Harry Potter series. One of the most important lessons is the triumph of good over evil, and also the main character, Dumbledore, teaches Harry Potter countless life lessons. So, J.K. Rowling's Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone represent the universal human experience of birth, growth, struggling, and dying. The archetypes constant and can be found in literature and also life experience. Knowing the function of these literary archetypes help reader understand the characters' purposes for the overall message. So, reader response critics believe that there is the most important part of the book, which is the response of the reader's reaction on it. So in series of 1997, the release of the book Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, one of the most popular best-selling book. In 2011, they sold 450 million copies and has been translated into 67 languages. With this, readers taking the interest of the book gain the approval of the response reader critics. So informal critics, they would enjoy the plot structure of the series. Throughout the series, there is the rise and fall of action, but there is a specific plot of the book. In historical bibliographic series, they would tend the book that reflects the entire life of the author, and also the history of the time where the book is written. Harry Potter is a set of magical world but does not relate the author's life.